You punks, go on my pub!
Me and my friends in $100 Volvo, buzzing down the street while cruising on the road, getting fucked up on the 101, shooting our guns and having fun. 40 beers later and a line of speed, 8-ball blow and a half a pound of weed, headed down the tracks to Mexico, fucked on beer and staying cold. I drink cheap beer, so what are you? I drink cheap beer, so what are you?
Hello and welcome to episode 33. My name 33. I should pronunciate my words. My name is Liam Bird and this is the Punks in Pubs podcast. I hope you're well and life is good. There's been a lot of punk related stuff going on in the world right now. Good old Beto O'Rourke is running for president, and doesn't Beto O'Rourke sounds like a character from Sin City? Sounds like he should be the mayor of Sin City, Beto O'Rourke. John Lydon decided to call Marky Ramone a daft cunt, which, I like two things out of that. Anyone who knows me, I like the word cunt. I don't find it offensive. I think it's quite a cutting, funny word. It's daft. Daft is such an English word. You daft cunt. Amazing. Also, if you watch the video when that all starts kicking off, in anticipation, you see Henry Rollins whip out his phone in the most sly way and like proper pressed up against him, so he's got the frame in case any shit goes down. Off the back of that, Kerrang decided to write an article saying that if it wasn't for John Lydon, there would be no punk. Bullshit. And the day I take my musical history lesson from that rag of shit will be the day that I know I need to put down this mic. Also, something that's happened, there's a new podcast that's been launched on Spotify about The Clash, and it's been narrated by Chuck D of Public Enemy. I hadn't had a chance to listen to that yet, but I'm going to listen to that over the weekend. So next episode, I will talk about that podcast, because I love The Clash, and I love Chuck D, and I love Public Enemy, so I think it's going to be great. I think it's called Stay Free, The Story of the Clash. Go listen to it. I mean, fuck it. We all need more podcasts in our life, don't we? It's not like we've already got 1,000 on our phone. But yeah, go listen to it. I'm gonna listen to it over the weekend as I go up to Manchester. Something else that happened last week, and if you follow the podcast on Twitter, you would have seen that I was cut up about the death of Keith Flint. Keith is a man whose name I wrote down on a list when I started this podcast on people I wanted to talk to. There's only about 5 people on that list. I've knocked off one of them already with Dave King from Flogging Molly, and Keith was on there. And I approached to interview Keith just after Christmas, but I got no reply, which is a shame. Because for me, the Prodigy were probably the last mainstream punk band, and I know that sounds weird because they are a dance band or techno or however you want to label them, but for me they were a punk band. They had this crazily energetic guy in Keith who looks like what you would deem a punk, just jumping around and singing and snarling and just prowling the stage in his manner that he does. And I would have loved the opportunity to really talk to Keith and understand his love of the two genres of dance and punk, and how going from essentially just a dancer to becoming the frontman of one of the most famous bands in the world. It was devastating when Keith died. If you listen to this podcast a lot, you know that I talk about mental health a lot because it's important to me. I feel that it's not spoken about enough, so whenever I talk to people who are willing to discuss the subject, we talk about it in depth, because I feel like the more we talk about it, more normalized it becomes. So therefore, people like you or me, we feel okay talking about what is essentially a taboo subject, and that's mental health. I don't remember who said this, but someone on social media posted that if Keith could have seen how much love was out there via all the messages on Twitter, he probably wouldn't have died. And I do believe there's an element of truth in that statement. So if you are feeling low or suicidal, then please do reach out. People do care. I mean, I care. I don't even know you, but I care. Please talk to someone. And people who are doing okay, you have good mental health, it's also up to you to ask those questions to your friend who might have been a little quiet or completely cut themselves from your group of friends. Reach out to them. Just see how they are. Just check in on them, because they need to know that they are loved, and they need to know that they are not nothing in this world, because there's a lot of shit in this world and we need to look after each other. Anyway, let's talk about happier subjects. Let's talk about episode 33. This episode sees me share a glass of cold water with the lead singer of Culture Shock, Citizen Fish and Subhumans. He is, of course, Dick Lucas. I spoke to Dick last summer in Blackpool, where we talked about all manner of things, but in particular, we talked about technology, missing out on reading album sleeves now because obviously everything's digital, the legend that is John Peel, and also balancing objects on top of other objects. If you follow Dick on Instagram, and you should, because he's pretty fucking funky on Instagram, he balances random objects on top of other objects. So he's done like golf balls and eggs, and it's pretty fucking phenomenal. So we talk a little bit about that. And of course, it's Dick Lucas. We talk about politics and the Subhumans, Culture Shock, Citizen Fish, as well as that leftover crack split, whereas a lot of people probably would have found Citizen Fish that way. Don't forget to listen to the end of the podcast, because Mexican band Dresden Wolves will play out the show. If you like Death from Above 1979, you will love these guys. And I am a big Death from Above 1979 first album fan. So stick around for them. Anyway, before that, there is this. This is episode 33 with me and Dick Lucas. Enjoy.
Of the mediocre trends, you're showing her rotation from the cash your label spends. The brothership remote to the ones who fit the bill. Refabricated goose and for the pockets that you fill. Monotony of essential product shining the display. The same will show a compromise with planet today.
Testing, okay. So a little sip of your water.
Go for it. Right, the person who just take a swig of my water, and now we both have cuties, is Dick Lucas. You will know him as the Subhumans, Citizen Fish and Culture Shock, and also the man who's probably been asked 1,000 times, how's your tour going?
It's not a tour.
No, I know, but whenever I talk to musicians, they're always like, the question I fucking hate is,
all right,
how's the tour going?
It's the easiest question to answer. You just say, yeah, great. Next question.
Next question, move on.
Yeah, unless you want specific details about the tour that I'm not on, then it's very easy to answer, how's the tour going? And why would that not be an obvious question and an easy one to answer? I don't understand why bands would complain about that nature of the question. If you're going to do an interview, expect the easiest and hardest questions ever. Okay,
so then carry on that form then. What is the easiest and the hardest question you've ever been asked?
Wow. Now, see, if I was an interviewer, I would have already known the answer to that. But I'm not. So the easiest would be the fabled what's your favourite colour?
Yeah.
And that is not that easy. And the hardest would be something along the lines of how has punk rock as a genre changed the disposition of the people of the Western world as opposed to the eastern part of the planet over the last 15 years compared to the previous 15 years or even the 15 years before that. Give or take a month or two to get round to an answer it now, please. You know, something like that. The deep stuff where the isms come in and they talk about anarchy and how has punk changed the world and all that sort of thing, which I'm quite prepared for.
Don't you think there's too much time has been wasted though and talking about how punk has changed the world, or what is punk and stuff like that, because punk is something completely different to me or you to
it's taking a generalisation and trying to nail it down,
yeah,
and that's a pretty hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Punk has changed people's lives, and in that much, in as much as those people then grow up and have children and pass on their idealisms to their kids in practical ways of like, don't do that, that's wrong. You could say that was down to punk rock because that's perhaps where they got their ideas from. So to say punk changes nothing is just too nihilistic and jaded because anything connected with good music changes something, and usually for the positive. And if you're into punk music, there's a likelihood that at least half the bands you'll listen to have actually got something to say in the lyrics, set to the music you got into before you even thought about the lyrics.
Yeah.
As people get older, they start to read lyrics a bit more rather than just chanting them or ignoring them.
Do you think that's changing though? Because now people don't actually buy physical formatted products. They'll download it. So therefore, anything that was written in the sleeves that used to have a message,
They're
is
missing
now,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can search for it and find it, and you can upload like a PDF of lyrics or the background stuff that was on the inner sleeve of the record at the time when it came out to go along with the download. As much as I hate technology and the nature of downloads being so non-dimensional, it's like it's there, better deal with it, because a lot of people do like their stuff to be instantly portable and listenable on their phones or whatever.
I mean, I'm sat in front of me and I've got my iPad with
Yeah.
my notes on there. So, I mean, it is just easier
Yeah,
than
you don't have to
having
love
an
it,
iPad.
but it's quite useful.
Yeah. Do you have a love-hate relationship with your phone then? Because everyone's attached to their phone and...
Yeah, it's really useful. I can check emails wherever. I can answer things quicker than having to wait until I get back home at the end of a tour in order to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also going to be pretty crazy if I ever lose it, so best not to lose it. So it becomes my most essential piece of possession, and therefore, am I controlling it or is it controlling me? The usual thing like that. But it's way handier than, say, look at an A to Z of London and not quite sure where the gig is, and like, who do we phone up and they're not on the phone because they're not answering it, and where's the gig and where do we park and all that. You just look at Google Maps or whatever. It's made a lot of things a lot easier and easier to organise gigs. And that sort of thing, yeah.
I mean, as a band, just having Google Maps, like you said, like just travelling, because obviously you're going from maybe Bristol to, I don't know, somewhere in Wales, and that going through the valleys and actually going, oh, we actually know where we're going, our phone's telling us, rather than map out.
Is it this street? Is it that little pathway there? I mean, we played, this is years back before this stuff it was invented. Culture Shock were playing in Holland. We woke up, he's like, where's the next gig? It's in... forget his name, entire anecdote ruined. Homburg in Germany.
Yes.
With an O, Homburg. And so we looked at a map, where is it? There it is. So we set off with plenty of time, a 2-hour drive, piece of cake, get there, can't find the youth centre, can't find the street name where the youth centre is supposed to be. Somebody says, well, there isn't a youth centre. And it's like, hang on, how many Homburgs are there? Get out, big atlas. It's like, oh, there's one over here. Get out the letter that we had in the first place, read it properly. It's like, okay, it's this one over here, 100 miles away, wherever it is. We get there, the show's finished, we're too late. On the way there, we blew the engine up. But it was a total chaos because we didn't have something as useful as a fucking, what they call, a GPS, or Google Maps, or whatever. So yeah, it can help.
I mean, something. My first question I actually had in my notes was talking. We again are talking about technology, but it's kind of interlinks with. I read an interview when I was researching to do this interview about a kid in LA who interviewed you, and he said he sent you a letter when he was younger.
Right.
And you felt in the interview. I mean, you take what you read, like you put your own kind of connotation on it, but it sounded like you were kind of like, that's really sweet, like that meant something to you, and you replied. That idea of like penmanship, is that something you miss? Like, do you like the idea of receiving a letter? Because it's now gone, and it's
It was
an
a
email.
love-hate relationship with letters, because sometimes the very amount of them would be just an overwhelming burden, and they had to be cleared, because I really wanted to answer all the letters I got, and eternal apologies to people who never got a reply, because there was a bulk left over when it all became emails and stuff. But yeah, I like writing back. It was like, oh no, not more letters. So you get into it, you say, okay, right, let's have a look, read this properly, have a think, and write something back. And then you can go off on tangents, and you can doodle on it, you can draw things.
Yeah.
You can do things you can't do with emails. There's no personality in emails whatsoever. So yeah, and the fact is, people remember letters and they don't particularly remember individual emails they got, because they look all the same. Whereas a letter, it got to the point I could tell who a letter was from because of the handwriting on the envelope. People who write quite often, So you became more connected to these people even though you never met them.
Yeah, that's nice. So we are going to talk about the bands, but I want to talk about kind of the music that gets you going. What's the thing that kind of gets you your I was about to say your ass shaking, but I realise that's
I try
completely
not to do
inappropriate.
that sort of thing.
So I mean, we're at the festival, so we should probably talk about Rebellion. Do you go and check new music, or do you go to the bands that you know are good? I mean, what's the bands that you've
It's
seen
a
this
mixture,
weekend?
really. It's a mixture. Firstly, bands that I want to see playing, they're normally either playing when I'm playing, or they're playing at the same time as another band I want to see. Saw Ruts DC last night. But we did have a spare moment to wander about, I think it was Thursday, and catch a few bands. And we saw, I'm really bad at names, damn it, begins with C, and I can't remember what they're called, that's really annoying. They were young and really playing some really good style punk rock. This is not giving anyone a clue, because the whole place is full of good style punk rock, isn't it?
But on the big Emperor stage, or?
No, they were on the pavilion.
Oh, okay.
We caught the end of their set.
Yeah.
And then when we bumped into the end of the Idols set, which everybody said was like interesting, crazy, weird, odd, definitely unique, and I thought, oh, sounds like I've missed something really good.
They're really good. They've been on the pod before, and they're an interesting. Like
Right.
for me, they're probably my most the new English punk band. They're kind of the ones that I'm looking at, going, oh, they're definitely gonna start getting A, commercial success, and B, success within the actual punk community for enjoying what they're trying to do and doing a
Right.
different message and stuff like that. So yeah, if you do get a chance, definitely check out Idols. Top tip there. So what about like when you were younger? What was the music that you enjoyed when you were younger? Because you were in a position whereabouts punk wasn't really a thing. It
wasn't there until I was 16.
So what was the things that you were listening to when you were young? What were the things
Before I
that
was
you
16, David Bowie, round about the sort of Ziggy Stardust bit, Black Sabbath, occasional pop songs that I liked. You know, Waterloo by ABBA was a really good song, and I've had to turn over 50 to be able to admit that sort of thing. So you caught me just in time.
So what was it
Not
about?
much really. I mean, what was it about David Bowie and Black Sabbath I like? Probably the heavy bits. I mean, punk rock came along and suddenly, wow, somebody's put all the heavy bits, all the good bits into a 2.5 minute single. It's like, that's a good idea. Oh no, look, they're singing about, as in this case, bored teenagers. It was the advert's first single, bored teenagers. Like, that's like appropriate, and it's not singing about ethereal nonsense or whatever, you know, Iron Man or, you know.
Yeah.
Punk rock musically was great because it just condensed all the stuff you liked before, was all the sharp and heavy and angular bits into one song, and just made more sense.
I mean, you grew up in a small town called Trowbridge? Melksham. Where's Melksham now?
Melksham was part of the Melksham, Trowbridge, Warminster punk rock triangle on the western edge of Wiltshire, so to speak. Me and my brother were in a band called The Mental, and over in Warminster, Bruce and Julian and Grant were in a band called The Stupid Humans, and we met up with them at an Angelic Upstarts gig in Trowbridge, which is like midway between the two. So a lot of punks would go to Trowbridge to the pubs and that of a weekend or weekday, whichever. And met up with them at the Upstarts gig. It's like, you in a band? Yeah, of course I am. You in a band? Yeah, of course I am. Everyone was in a band. It was like ridiculous. Went to see them practice. They split up. The Mental split up. We reformed the Subhumans that same summer. So, yeah, I mean, there was hardly any gigs going on. So it was one going on. Everybody went.
So when was the first time that you started seeing what would become punk creeping into like your surroundings? Like, was it you first saw someone in a mohawk and you're like, what's that about? Then you discovered music, or was it you discovered music, then you discovered like fashion ended up becoming a huge part of what?
Basically,
punk...
it was definitely heard of music before I started seeing the punks wandering around the streets.
Yeah.
of Melksham, which is a very small town and nothing happens there and it's not famous for anything. Yeah, it's just the music. It was John Peel and Alan Freeman on the radio,
yes,
playing punk rock,
yeah,
as all good DJs should. And but they were the ones who started playing it first. And it was like, yeah, I was listening to that. They started buying Sounds and NME, the music papers, and avidly read them of a Thursday afternoon, and then go to Trowbridge, and there was a disco going on, and they had a punk rock section for a quarter of an hour, and you could bring your own tapes along, and they might play a track off it and that sort of thing.
So what was it about the music then that kind of grabbed you? What was the thing that...
It was the instancy, the anger, the playfulness, the speed of it, and the basic simplicity of it, and the notion that anyone can do this, which is why I got a band like The Mental together, really, and we were awful by comparison and with hindsight,
yeah,
and we were awful at the time as well, come to think of it. But, you know, we did 10 gigs, made one single, John Peel played it, which is nice, then split up, and then it was like Subhumans.
I mean, this podcast is probably... I'm lucky in the fact that this podcast is quite big in America and it's doing okay over here as well. So people who don't know who John Peel is a legendary broadcaster who used to work on BBC Radio 1, and he is the man who probably gave the world like The Damned, The Clash, Subhumans, like Ruts, who you spoke about earlier on. Like, these bands probably wouldn't have they would have, I mean, who am I to say that they wouldn't have got as big or as commercial as they would have if it wasn't for John Peel. But John Peel is definitely a man who should be spoken as a legend. Gets thrown around a lot, but
yeah,
he
a bit
is
of reverence
a
to the
legend.
guy.
Yeah.
He introduced not just punk rock, but almost every variation of alternative music you can think of.
Yeah.
He was playing it first. That's where you would send your single to, was John Peel. You had the best chance of any DJ on any commercial radio, mainstream radio, to play music that was different. He did the same with, say, Alfia and Donna and Uptown Top Ranking, which then went to like number 2 in the charts or something. And then suddenly it was like, whoa, like this was... People started taking an interest in female musicians more and reggae more at the same time as a direct result of that. Some of his discoveries, so to speak, snowballed completely.
Did you get the opportunity to talk to John? Like, did you ever have any moments with him?
No, he did send a postcard because we wanted to do a session. He did band sessions.
Yes.
He'd have them in the studio in Maida Vale in London. You play about 4 songs with as minimal mixing and overdubs as possible, keep it sort of live feeling. And so he asked if we could do them when Just 4 Cradles to the Grave came out. And he said he was into it, but his producer, John Walters, I think his name was, he wasn't into it. Didn't explain why, but that was as close as we got.
That's a shame.
This is not an advert. This is not an advert. This is not an advert. This is not an advert.
I notice adverts everywhere. It's even on the clothes you wear. And still you smile so unaffected. It's all this anger misdirected. Relate the logo on the t-shirt. I know you're just a walking advert. Do you really care who made it? Sweat your workers underpaid.
This is not an advert. This is not an advert.
What was your first punk show? What was that like? And can you remember? And also, can you remember, like, because punk at that time was known for being a bit tasty, so to speak. Like, it had its confrontation, you had the Skins, you had the Mobs. It was like a melting pot of people discovering new music. Like, can you remember the first time you walked into a gig and you just witnessed with this kind of tribalism and then also the noise that's coming from the stage?
Not as a clear-cut memory as that. I mean, the first gig we ever did with The Mental was in a church hall in Winchester, and I think 20 people turned up to watch it. We were very chaotic. There was no stage. It was a mess. But I couldn't make any generalisations about what the punk scene was like from that. There were danger points in certain places in London that you would play once and then not go back there because there was a certain amount of really nasty-looking skinheads who were there to start fights with the punks, because just for fun.
Yeah.
There was one place called Skunks in London, which is supposed to be like skinheads and punks, ideally to unite them. But there was a few skinheads there who didn't want to be united with anybody, not even the other skinheads, you know. There were hot spots that you try to avoid, but we're not a band who's sung in any sense being ambiguous about violence. We don't see any fun in violence. There's no sort of, we're the kids are united in the sense of we go and beat people up and be tough and use our fists and our boots to make our point.
Yeah.
Because like we're not like that. We don't fight. You know, we would lose in a fight because we don't fight. We're not like that. It's like loads of people are not like that. Obviously, I'm not showing off anything particular here. It's just that if there's going to be trouble, we'll fucking avoid it. We're not there to confront trouble with any more than ideas and words, and we prefer people just to get on, obviously, and we'll like make the point and try to stop people fighting if we see it, which can happen. There is certain power of a microphone coming from the stage into the crowd. But whereas other bands, the nature of their music perhaps, or the fact they don't make their point very clear enough, if they start attracting right-wing skins to their gigs, they're going to be stuck with them unless they say something against it or they deny them completely, which some bands, unfortunately, never learnt the lesson of, and they quite like the fact they got a hardcore crowd, as they call it, and they don't see anything wrong with it. That is finally starting to just like disappear a bit out of the scene, and you know, Rebellion is actually quite a good place to notice these value things progressing or otherwise.
Yeah, definitely, and I feel something that I haven't been to Rebellion in years, and something that I noticed a difference was, the amount of women who are actually on the bill, which is fantastic, and also the amount of people actually using the power of their mic to speak their own minds to the audience, which I feel is important. I know some people feel like, you're here to entertain us, we don't need to hear about your politics, we just want to have a good time. But I feel it is people's responsibility, if you do have the power of the mic and you have the luxury of people willing to listen to you, you should put
Use
your
the
voice.
space.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, Twitter now is probably the obvious space where people with political views are being shot down, and just like Gary Lineker, for instance, is one who is Gary Lineker is an English footballer, for people who don't know, who is a commentator on a football program, but he speaks quite politically on Twitter, and everyone shoots him down by saying, "You're a fucking pundit, just shut up, don't talk about politics, stick to your day job."
Right, so who is supposed to talk about politics? Nobody who's in the public domain, apparently, apart from politicians.
Yeah.
And they don't talk about it.
Definitely
Because
don't.
To be clear, you know, they're being clear and let's not even start actually talking about politics because it would go on forever.
Well, it's later in my questions, so
Yeah, go for it,
we'll go over politics later on. But let's talk about actually the Subhumans. So the day that the country died is probably the way that people find their way into the Subhumans and your back catalogue. I mean, for me, it was It's All Gone Dead. That was a song that someone played to me, and I was like, who the fuck is this? And then they explained who it is, and then I found my way into your world that way. I mean, how long was it after that album was released till you realised we've actually got an album that, in my point of view, is an album that every single punk fan should have in their collection? Like, was it 5 years, 10 years? You still don't recognise it? Or I mean,
well, we knew it was popular and liked a lot because it sold like 10,000 in like a month of coming out, which is like, what? It was freaky. We were getting royalty checks for like £1,000 each. I quit my job at that point. That's it. I'm never working again. He's like, Dad, I got £1,000. I've just quit work. He said, yeah, I thought you might. It's like, fair enough. It was just like, couldn't believe it. I mean, we'd put out 3 EPs before that, and then did that on a shoestring budget. Took 4 days, pretty badly mixed, whatever. Yeah, it went flying out. Or we've like paid no more than £3.25 on the front cover. So, yeah, we're well chuffed with that. In ranking its importance to people, that's not the sort of thing we do, really. It's just, it turns out that it's become a bit of an iconic front cover for people to stick on their jackets or T-shirts. And a lot of people like the songs on that record. I ain't complaining. It's still quite surprising, though, that this is like, 30 years later.
So when with those, like, you spoke about artwork, like with those prints, I mean, who has the royalties to that? Was it someone you did yourself? Was it something that you sketched yourself, or was it something that you just found and you just threw on?
Neither. It was a chap called Nick Lant who wrote a letter asking for just any basic info, gig dates or whatever for the Subhumans, and at the bottom of the letter he just happened to draw a 1.5-inch square drawing of a punk rocker's head. I thought, wow, that's neat. All like dots, like really intricate detail. We were stuck for a cover for Religious Wars.
Yeah.
So I said, bit cheeky, but like, here's some lyrics. Could you do a cover for this? Because your art is amazing. Thought, oh well, there goes that. And then like 2 weeks later, the front cover of Religious Wars comes in the post. It's like, whoa, wow. So based on that, we said, do you want to do Day the Country Died based on the song Black and White? That's the last line of it. And he took about 6 weeks over that. and he's on the phone. He said, "I'm doing this. Would you prefer it this way or that way?" But generally, yeah, he just made it up out of his head and drew it really well. Then he vanished. He did the cover of Rats in 1985. A couple of years later, then that was it.
Yeah.
He sort of disappeared. I've heard rumours that he joined the police,
Okay, yeah.
but no one's really confirmed that. So it's a bit of a weird rumour.
Maybe we'll see him one day.
A bit of a really weird rumour, actually, but never
Slapping
mind.
him on the back of the head, yeah. I mean, you toured with some great bands. What for you was the band that kind of took you under their wing? Was there a band?
Flux Pink Indians gave us our first gigs outside of our local area in 1981. We played Nottingham and a couple of gigs in London. Actually, we did a little mini tour of London, which would be quite hard to do. These did like 4 gigs in London back to back in different pubs. But yeah, they were a great band. I mean, they put out the Day the Country Died on their label, Spiderleg, in the first place. So yeah, we're well connected with them.
So how much of the time were you listening to, because during the 80s, American punk had now changed to hardcore, the Black Flag, Minor Threat, and that kind of music. Were you hearing any of that? Was that influence you in any way? Or when you went over to America, did you start listening and hearing that kind of music, and did it influence you in any way?
We started hearing it when we went to America. We went there once in 84 and once in 85, and toured with Scream in 85. They're amazing. Yeah, we were hearing it. Minor Threat, excellent band.
Yeah.
Dead Kennedys, of course. Frightwig, Red Scare, MDC, and so on. Yeah.
So what did you take from them though? Because I feel like the ethics of bands in America is just play. Where in the UK we're not big enough, so you can't really just keep playing all the time because you just run out of venues. But it's in America, they'll go off for a month and play like the West
There's a nearly
Coast.
limitless supply of venues and towns in America because it's that big. What do we take from them? I don't know. Just it was just interesting to see how they did it. There was way more hardcore.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from bands like Discharge and Napalm Death, what I would call more musical hardcore was the American version of it, and then later on it became even more musical with Bad Religion and so on. These are all labels, and once you start pigeonholing things a bit too much, then you start like getting people wound up a bit.
What about other bands who you saw and went, oh, they're going to be massive, and they just kind of stalled and never really progressed as much as you thought they would?
Operation Ivy could have been enormous, but they actually saw that coming and chose to opt out before it became enormous. It would have been great for a few more Operation Ivy records.
Yeah.
Maybe they made the right choice. Who knows? Some bands they carry on and then they just sort of, what's that? You know, they just went all wet and new wave or whatever, and then went full on commercial and just lost all respect, really.
So what was it about Operation Ivy that you really liked then?
Just raw, manic ska punk. I mean, they were mixing ska with punk. It wasn't one or the other. It was just like, let's do both. And just really raw, tight, energetic, and you could not help but just move around to it.
Have you ever met Tim in any way? Like you ever?
A couple of times before Rancid went enormous. Yeah, nice chap. Friends of people we know in the Oakland area.
Yeah.
In California, and we got quite a lot of connection with people in Oakland because, like, Pete the roadie married Paula. She was from Oakland, and people from Oakland met people in Bremen and Bath. We started at this festival, the Bob Festival, which was like Bremen, Oakland, and Bath, B.O.B. And every year, well nowadays it's every 2 years, we gather together in one of those 3 cities and just basically have a week-long party with bands playing from all of those places, or even just connected to the people from those places. It's quite a neat idea.
I mean, why is it about that region of the world whereabouts it seems to me have a real community feel for their music? It seems to be that it's part of like a town. Whereas in the UK we don't really have that. I mean, Blackpool has it now when it lasts for like 4 days, but then it disappears. Like, we don't seem to have a town or a city that really embraces the musical stylings that some of the suburbs of California really have.
That's impossible to answer, isn't it? Without going around the whole lot and doing actual deep surveys on where everybody here has come from and where the strongest so-called scene is.
I mean, you've toured all over the country though, so...
Well, yeah, but if you tour all over the country and you play Leicester on a Tuesday, you'll get like 40 people. We play Leicester on a Saturday, you might get 200.
But you would have played Leicester on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday over your time, so...
Yeah.
There must be...
And we got about 40 people.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's based on reality. It depends on the weather, how much, when the people get their dole money, whether they've seen us before.
Yeah.
Well, and these days, whether their kids are saying, let's go see the Subhumans, Dad, you used to like this,
Yeah. It's Father's Day, come on.
So well, it's impossible to say. I mean, say you can play a good show in, say, Leeds, but does that have a bearing on how good the scene in Leeds is, generally?
Yeah, fair point.
It might do. But you can go back to Leeds like the next time, it won't be as good.
Yeah.
Is that down to the promotion, the venue, the promoters, the weather, or the actual scene? And then you're just starting to wonder what the word scene means. I mean, if you've got like 20 fanzines coming out of one place, it's going to be pretty strong. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't too sure if you finished then. I was about to come in.
I've started thinking quietly, which is great for radio and podcasts, isn't
Perfect.
it? Yeah. It's the psychic bit.
Straight to the fiction, there's no contradiction. There's not so new as an instant view. Day in, day out, see the head stretch out for the headline brands. A minimal understanding. Just enough to feed the need to point and nod, it's all agreed. The hunger doesn't shrink away from all there is to eat today. But lies and tweets.
The Subhumans split in 85 to 86
Yeah.
and reformed again in 98.
Yeah.
Why split, and then what made you get back together? What was it that you wanted to do with it?
Right, well, we split up because we couldn't really decide where we were going, and Bruce wanted to progress the music into a sort of more rocky area. I really didn't want to do that. Discharge had tried that with their Cradles of the Grave album, whatever it was called. And I just thought we were doing fine on a sort of slowly rising trajectory. Nothing was getting too bad. Worse, we weren't going to go mega anywhere.
Yeah.
It was just going nicely along. I thought we were doing great, but there was just a feeling of dissatisfaction with the way it was going, like it was getting too repetitive and that sort of thing. And then we sort of did three gigs, which turned out to be the last gigs, and then sort of we'll take a break. Didn't really discuss what would happen after the break. And in that break, I was invited to sing for Culture Shock, or what became Culture Shock, and then that took off. So the Subhumans never really started up again, and it was just left hanging in the air or whatever. Then I think it was Trotsky and Phil suggested to me and Bruce that around about 97 or 98 that why don't we have a go at doing Subhumans again, because we're still selling loads of records. There's loads of people who've never seen us play live. Thought, okay, give it a shot, see what it feels like, and it felt amazing. It was just like there was hardly any revision needed. It just all boom straight back. It was a knockout. So we did one gig and it was like whoa, and then we did a load more, and then we thought, well, let's just keep going.
So what did you, when you left the Subhumans, why did you decide to change the sound to a more of a reggae ska feel with the
Not
bands?
my decision. I mean,
No?
I'm just a singer. Culture Shock was basically Nige, who is in another local band, the A-Heads, who are still going. Bill was drumming for another Wiltshire band, Organised Chaos. A-Heads and Organised Chaos also kind of split up at the same time. And they all lived near each other, so they were jamming with a friend of Nigel's called Paul up from Devon, who had these amazing bass lines, and they needed a singer, and I was not doing much. So they asked me to join in, and we just jammed until we had songs, and it carried on.
I mean,
The choice, I was really excited to sing along to ska/reggae/punk music, because there's suddenly all this space to sing in.
Yeah.
It wasn't so regulated, 4-beat quickly, get us all the syllables into one line as fast as possible. It was like, you could put all the syllables into the line like that. Not quite as Frank Sinatra as that, but you know what I mean. There's more space to sing and actually dance rather than twitch.
When that sound came out, obviously you had the Specials, you had the Beat, you had those kind of bands beforehand. Were you influenced by them?
Absolutely.
Would you watch
yeah.
them
So it was like subliminal almost. It wasn't like I was going out buying loads of Specials records or anything like that. But you'd hear them and they were good. And even though at the age of like 17 or 18, you go, mods suck, two-tone sucks. Because you're a punk rocker, that's what you do when you're 17. It's like you've got your divisions sorted out. I'm part of this block. Everything else is shit. But it's subliminal. It gets in your head. And of course, like Gangsters and Too Much Pressure and all that, just like fucking great songs, but you would dare not admit it until you actually start to like get a bit older.
This is my naivety then, because I always thought the punks and the ska, like that kind of embraced, like there was an embrace between the music because it was mixing both, like you kind of said with Up Ivy, they were mixing both like sounds. Was that not the case then at the time? Did you not feel that? Did you not feel that the punks were like, this is not like really fast, but it was like something you can dance to, you can skank
Nobody
along
was
to.
really putting ska into punk rock. I mean, bands were messing around with like reggae and punk rock, or not even messing around, doing it really well, like The Clash. But no one did the ska punk thing until, dare I say, Culture Shock and or Operation Ivy. As far as I know, Bad Brains came close. But yeah, it generally wasn't a done thing.
So what about Citizen Fish then? Because obviously that became a band that's probably known as your second band after Subhumans.
Well, Culture Shock split up, and me and Jasper, who was in Culture Shock then, said, right, let's form a ska band, proper ska band, let's do it. That didn't work out, and it mixed up with punk in the same way as Culture Shock did, but slightly more punky, perhaps. It's hard to tell what the difference was. And then we had Larry on guitar, then we had Phil, who was in the Subhumans, on guitar. We had Chosky, who was in the Subhumans, on the drums, but it didn't sound like the Subhumans. So, and a lot of the posters were saying Citizen Fish, ex-Subhumans, and a lot of people thought, right, this will be Subhumans Mark II, and it really wasn't.
No.
It was much like, well, lighter music. You know, the sentiments were all there, but musically it was like a lot of ska stuff, and a lot of punks at the time really hated ska mixed in with their punk rock.
Yeah.
That's their choice.
So when you did a split with Leftover Crack,
A long time later on, we did a split with
Yeah.
Leftover Crack. Yeah. By that point, we were sticking brass in it as well, which really helped define it as not just slightly sounding like one previous band or the other. Now we actually had our own real sound, I think. And Sturgeon at Leftover Crack, he was much influenced by seeing Citizen Fish when we played in California, and he was there at the same gig in Gilman Street, it was in Berkeley. So he wanted to do something with us because he liked us and he liked the ideas and that. That worked pretty well. We went on tour with him a couple of times.
Leftover Crack for me are one of the best DIY punk bands in America. I love I really enjoy their sound, and I've had the pleasure of meeting Skizzer and interviewing him, and he's an interesting character and he's quite intense at times. How did you find him as a person? Did you get on okay with him?
Yeah, on his own terms of what mood he was in, if you see what I mean. But yeah, he could be really soul searching, and he could be really happy. He could be full of memories and full of imagination, and he could be really, really like pissed off at nothing whatsoever and a prima donna and just like saying no to things based on some whim. He could be really, really drunk and out of it. It could be insulting and offensive, but he could also be honest and apologetic the next day or the next 5 minutes or whatever. So you didn't quite know how the conversation was going to go, but on a broader sense, he wasn't nasty or evil or any of the ists. You know, he wasn't racist, sexist. He wasn't pro-violent or anything. You know, some people drink, they get violent or stupid. He didn't really get violent or stupid. He just got like really open and confused in his speech, but sometimes really quite lucid. Like he would come up with stuff that's like, whoa, Chairman Mao, not Chairman Mao. Who's a philosopher chap that isn't Chairman Mao? Where the fuck did he get in? Confucius.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Confucius. Yeah, he's a character, to be sure.
Definitely.
I like him.
He's a good guy. He is a good guy. But like you said, my meetings with him was one when he was completely out of it and I couldn't do the interview with him, and then we arranged it the next day and he just apologised. Say hello, hey, how you doing? So
Liam, this is Michelle.
Hey Michelle, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. You might enjoy this, about to talk about politics. So hey, you're synonymous with politics, through your lyrics and through your music. So let's talk a little politics. Are you now more angrier, more disappointed with the world now, or when you were younger?
The nature of the anger has changed.
Yeah.
Because now my anger is more informed, and I'm angrier now because I'm more informed, and there's more to be angry about, especially in the last couple of years. Just when you thought everything was going relatively okay, you knew who all your enemies were. It was all kind of like mapped out quite clearly. There are a lot of things wrong. The press is wrong, the TV is wrong, politicians are wrong, pollution is wrong, sexism is wrong, racism is wrong, the right wing is wrong, the left wing is more right than wrong, and more correct than wrong, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Then suddenly you got like Brexit and Trump all crashing in 2016, and now suddenly the press may be wrong, but they're way less wrong than Trump is, saying it's all fake news. Suddenly you're on the side of the press. And if you thought that Arnold Schwarzenegger was just a fucking right-wing ideologue idiot who couldn't string a sentence together, when he slags off Trump and Trump slags him off, you're on Arnie's side.
Yeah.
So suddenly your old enemies have become your sort of, you're agreeing with them because you've got a much, much bigger enemy out there trying to squash down on free speech, free movement, immigration, all this fucking racist, sexist, fascist bullshit coming out, and it's public, and it's daily, and it's changing on a daily basis, and it's non-stop. We were on tour in America this year, and of all, you'd think it'd be a major conversation, but only two people talked to me about how they were feeling about Trump, and their two biggest feelings were anger and confusion, and not quite knowing what to do, because on a daily basis they were getting more lies and more disinformation coming from Trump, being reported through media channels that they up to that point had not been trusted to be completely true, because they were the media, right? You don't trust the media, you trust people. But now you have to start trusting the mainstream media, because once they get closed down, then no one's going to know what the hell's going on. It's a weird place we're in now.
It is a weird place. And
So as opposed to earlier anger, which is all based on being paranoid, resentful and antisocial, but mostly paranoid, thrown in with a few facts that somebody chucked into a few lyrics.
in our scene, we're meant to be seen as a kind of a liberal thinking, progressive punk scene. Everyone's included. But yet recently we've seen to have punks, your old label mate on Lookout, Joe Queer, he's come out and supported the police officer who killed an unarmed black child. You've
Really?
got, yeah, you got a lot of shit for that. And then also you got a guy who's being interviewed right now, John Lydon, who comes out and talks about his support for Brexit and his support for Trump.
Really?
Yeah. Are you not disappointed? Like, is this like...
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am now disappointed. It's official. Jeez. It's good not to have heroes, but Johnny Rotten approaches someone you got respect for because he's started so much off, you know.
Yeah.
So he supports Trump.
Allegedly, that's what he's done in
Allegedly.
several... Well, he did it on an interview with Piers Morgan. He also did it on Newsnight. He spoke about his admiration for him for the working class, is the way that he would phrase it. He said that the working class have finally got a person who's speaking up for them.
Well, that was the mythology that he got voted in by in the first place. He was saying that he was on the side of the working class. He wanted to improve the condition in places like Pittsburgh, where industry's been ground down to a halt over the last 20 years. And you can see his point. It's a good point to make. But has he come up with anything that's done any good for the people of Pittsburgh, for instance? He's introduced a whole bunch of tariffs that's going to like up the cost of everything, flatten down the wages, and get loads of people sacked because they can't afford to have the jobs because they can't sell the steel, and so on. And this occurs with agriculture and all sorts of other industries at the same time. So he's shitting on the workers.
Yeah.
Completely.
But where is that person now? Where is that person in punk rock who is got the pedestal of John Lydon, who's speaking out? There isn't anyone. I don't really see...
Do you mean quite in terms of having mainstream media
having a megaphone
coverage?
Yeah, like, well, not even a coverage, just Reading and Leeds Festival, let's say that. It's probably one of the biggest festivals going on in the UK. There's punk bands who play there, but I haven't seen, over the past 2 years, I haven't seen anyone stand up and go, what the fuck is this? So let's say Bad Religion. Bad Religion recently did a song called The Kids Aren't All Right, but why aren't they screaming? Why aren't they shouting? Why aren't they really using the weight that they've got and their connections to the media? Why aren't they doing that?
This is obviously a question for them.
It is, but
a general question, why
as
is
a
there a rock
person in
against
the
Trump?
community,
Yeah.
You must have an opinion. Away from your musician, just as a person, like, do you wish that our scene was doing more, or do you think we're doing what we can?
Well, probably both. We're doing what we can, but we could do more at the same time. I mean, there was a rock against racism in the early 80s that attracted a whole bunch of people, not just punks at all, but it was founded on music and protest. Yeah, I agree, there is not enough musical protest going on right now that's getting the media attention, but the media attention is, for better or worse, more focused on the actuality and the politics, and the protest is out there, and it's not just now It doesn't have to come through music anymore to be noticed. I mean, it's all over the internet and it's all over on alternative news sources. The lies and the reasons to be angry are in our face on the headlines in the national mainstream media across the planet on a daily basis, because it's coming live through tweets and that from the fucking president. So, wow, yeah, you need more protests, but there already is a shitload of protests going on. I mean, the marches over in America throughout a whole bunch of cities have more people on them that's marched against anything since, I don't know what, really, since the Vietnam War, probably.
Let's talk about something a bit more lighthearted. Let's get our blood sugar down.
Trees, fish, okay.
Let's talk about balancing stuff.
Okay.
On your Instagram account is just full of you balancing stuff. So like an egg on a cup, or a bunch of bananas on a bottle. Where did this start, and why did you start doing it? And when did you decide, I'm going to do an Instagram account of this?
Right, well, this started very occasional things on various beaches where there's like rocks that could be put on top of each other, stacked and that sort of thing, but that wasn't much. And then it didn't look good though, it felt good doing it and getting it. And then we stayed at a friend's place up near wherever it is in Northamptonshire, Trina and Bambi's place, that was it. And he had this thing, we had a matchstick connected to a fork and a spoon being jammed together, and you get a matchstick in between those two jammy bits. So you end the matchstick on the edge of a glass, and because the fork and spoon go at a certain angle, the centre of gravity is slightly beyond where the matchstick is, so the whole thing hangs there on the end of a glass. It looks impossible, but it's all down to the placement of the centre of gravity. And I got really kicked off by that, and I thought, right, and then just like loads more balancing things, especially rocks, and then you just move to anything that's lying around the house, like eggs and bananas and teapots, cheese graters, spatulas, whatever. You're waiting for a kettle to boil, whatever. Just find something, try and balance. Like eggs are just like, ooh, you get two eggs, one egg on top of another. It's like yes. And once I got egg on top of egg on top of egg. To be fair, that was like pretty damn momentous. I should just stop there, really.
You can't top it.
You can't do 4 eggs. But there's Instagram, because these things are not going to stay there forever. In fact, most of them fall over within a minute or 5. As soon as you've balanced them, they will be unbalanced because you need them to cook in or whatever, or you're going to eat the actual fucking egg. So you need to take a photo. Best thing to do with photographs is to stick them on something like Instagram where people see them. If people don't see photos, they're not even worth having. So that's why I kind of like Instagram for that. It's more visual. Any other social media, I'm not on Facebook and that, because it's just too much hierarchies and bullshit going on. And they spying on your ass, and they own Instagram, whatever. I'm a confused person. Then you see other people balancing stuff. It's really inspiring. There's one guy balanced 4 pool balls on top of each other. Not like just 2, which would be pretty hard, or 3, which is like, what? But 4, and there's a photograph of it. It's like, yeah, I believe it. Because if you're balancing stuff, you don't go in for faking the picture of it, because where's the honesty in that?
So is it like the sense of achievement you enjoy?
Absolutely, it's that fucking zen moment where you've reached that point, and it's less than a millimetre between balance and unbalance.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to work. Some things just are never going to balance. Like I could put that on there, and that is probably never going to balance. This is a plastic glass on a spectacles case, and that is like we could just sit here watching that for ages, and it probably wouldn't work, and it's be dull to look at. So fuck it. But other things, you just got a sense this will work. There is a space. If you get a triangulation point where there's 3 or more places that an edge or a corner can fit into, there is a centre of gravity in that where there's more balance. You got to have balance more than just 2, not a straight line. More than that. Making no sense, is it?
Do you have people send you pictures of what they've done balancing things on balancing? No?
No.
Maybe we should start. Get people sending you stuff they've done.
People have recommended things on Instagram to me via Instagram.
Yeah.
I think I might be interested in it. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we're coming up to 50 minutes now, so let's wrap this up. So, I mean, moving forward, politically maybe shit, but as the band Subhuman, Citizen Fish, what's coming forward? What can we expect? Is there anything because I know you guys are all scattered all over, aren't you? Getting together is coming quite hard.
Subhuman's drummer Trotsky lives in Germany, so Subhuman's practicing is like a one annual thing, you know. It doesn't happen very often. We have got about 6 or 7 new songs. Most of them are completely worked out, some are not. But that's heading towards some sort of release as soon as we get another 6 songs worked out. It could take a while, so don't hold your breath. But they'll be good when it comes out. Culture Shock could put out another CD or maybe vinyl release. We've got about 6 new songs on that and a couple of live songs and a couple of dub versions. So that's good. Sit Fish haven't really done much in the way of practicing or even gigging over the last year because until recently, as at least out of the 6 of us, at least a third of us were too busy working to go on tour much. So been on the sea bed, so to speak, half asleep for a while. Although, as we found last night, when we all wake up and get on stage and get off the seabed, it's jolly good fun, and it's all still there.
Yeah.
So it's not stopped yet.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Dick, for your time, man. And
thank you.
I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you around too.
Thanks.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Mickey Mouse is dead, got kicked in the head, cause people got too serious, they planned out what they said, they couldn't take the fantasy, tried to accept reality, analyse the laughs, cause pleasure comes in halves, the purity of comedy, they have to take it seriously, change the words around, try to make it look profound, a comedian is on stage, it's taken for a wage, the critics think he's great, but the laughter turns to hate.
Thank you to Dick for giving up his time. Dick and the Subhumans will be playing at the Manchester Punk Festival. That's going on from the 19th to the 21st of April. Go get your tickets at manchesterpunkfestival.co.uk. Let's do this. Go get your t-shirts. They're only £15. They help fund the podcast. You can go pick them up on Etsy or drop me an email, punksinpubs@gmail.com, and I will sort you out. Follow the podcast on all the socials at punksinpubs. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And go and rate and review. It helps. It helps the podcast. And also tell your mates about the pod. Playing at the show this week are a band from Mexico City, Mexico. They are called the Dresden Wolves, and I am loving their noise. This track is called Run, and that's exactly what I'm going to do now. That's it for this week. If you're going to a punk show and you see someone fall down, you pick them right back up. I love you. Bye-bye.